Good evening. This is a great privilege again from the KDR TV studios to have very special guests. Today we are having scholars from KESSA. These are diaspora scholars who have done a tremendous work in the United States of America and in different parts of the world. So today we are having three scholars. We are having Professor Jerono Rotich. We are having Professor Bala. Then we are also having Professor Otiso Kefa. I'll be bringing them, or I'll be ushering them in. But before I usher them in, it's a great pleasure again to thank all the viewers, those who are viewing right now. It's a good evening in the US. And those who will be watching, especially from East Africa or from Asia, we also welcome you to this particular discussion. If you've got suggestions on how to improve our education systems, not only in America but in Kenya, you are really welcome. Move forward. Let's have this worthy discussion so that we can move our people ahead. Our people need scholars like Professor Otiso, Professor Rotich, Professor Bala, so that we can actually moderate issues, education, and then move forward as a team. So right now, I'm welcoming our three scholars. Welcome once again, Professor Otiso, Professor Rotich, and Professor Abala. Without wasting time.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Without wasting time, I would love each of you to give a brief introduction, and in that particular introduction, because it's maybe the first time some of our viewers actually are hearing about you, please give a brief bio of your credentials or a brief bio of your life as a scholar. So let's start from my left-hand side. We are having Professor Imali J. Abala. Go ahead, Professor.
Thank you very much for having me on your show today. My name is Professor Abala, and I am a professor at Ohio Dominican University, which is in Columbus, Ohio. I teach literature, I teach composition, I teach creative writing, and I'm also a writer. I love to write poetry. I also like to write short stories and novels. So that's what I'm passionate about. And currently, I'm the chief editor for our Kenya Studies Review.
Thank you very much, Professor Abala. Now let's move to Professor Jerono Rotich. Go ahead, Professor.
Good evening, and wishing you all a happy Good Friday. Thank you so much, Engineer Mwere, and my colleagues, Professor Abala, Professor Otiso, for being with us this evening. As most of you know me, I am Jerono Rotich. I am a professor of kinesiology and at North Carolina Central University in Durham. I'm also the president of KESSA. This is my second year serving as a president. And then I also do other things in the community. I serve in other capacities of the community where I studied the Kenya Students in Diaspora, KESSA, that is the Kenya Students in Diaspora Foundation that is registered in North Carolina. But today we are really talking about KESSA and what KESSA does, and what KESSA does with that organization is to mentor those students. We work very closely together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now let's move straight to Professor Kefa Otiso.
Yeah, Professor Kefa Otiso, thank you everyone for being with us this evening. I teach at Bowling Green State University. I'm a professor of geography. I'm also director of the Global Village here, as well as a graduate coordinator for my program, School of Earth, Environment and Society. I'm the founding president of KESSA. Also in the community, I do a number of other things, including serving as a commissioner on the Ohio New African Immigrants Commission. So it's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Now let's start the discussion. And I'm asking a very simple question, and that question is going to be answered by Professor Otiso. As one of the founders of KESSA, tell us about the history of KESSA and what inspired you and your co-founders to start this particular organization. Professor Otiso?
Yeah, KESSA is a baby that was born in 2007. That's when it's registered. But the first conference was in 2008. But the inspiration for it goes a little bit further back to around 2004, 2005. At the time, I became aware that there were not as many Kenyans in my area of study here in the US, particularly in the professoriate. So at one conference, a colleague of mine, Professor Francis Cotti, and another friend, Charles Manyara, we started seeing a need for an organization of this nature, especially when it comes to people being promoted, and it was beginning to be challenging to find people to review our work, especially if you're working on Kenya. Americans were not necessarily as informed of the same. So we decided to organize ourselves, find other people in academia, and see whether we can actually have an organization that actually can support us to grow professionally. We also wanted to give back to the community in terms of mentoring younger scholars and also graduate students to be able to rise to higher levels of academic achievement, as well as within the professoriate here in the United States. So then that began a conversation over email and talking and wondering whether anything would actually work. We started reaching out to a number of scholars here in the US. When we saw that we had a reasonable mass of people that actually can be members, we decided basically to go ahead and register. So it's registered in Ohio, and from that small group of people, I also forgot to mention Professor Morris Amtabi, who at the time was actually teaching in Seattle, Washington area. So the four of us basically were the core executive that began the organization before bringing in regional representatives like Professor Gerono, and very, very pleased with where the organization is right now and the impact it's having in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tiso. Now let's go to Professor Rotich. How has your participation in KESSA contributed to your career advancement? Professor Rotich?
Thank you so much, Engineer. As KEFA said before, when they started KESSA in 2008, I personally joined KESSA in 2009. And it was very interesting because at that time, just before the conference, I had met with my dean at the time in my institution and my administrators. I was getting ready to go up for tenure and promotion. Actually, I was not, but I was on the tenure track. So what they did was at that time they were doing a one-on-one. So we met on one-on-one to review my progress. And one of the things that one of the administrators pointed out was, they said, Dr. Rotich, you're doing very well in your publications, in your presentations, but you don't have any leadership at a national level. You know, I remember leaving that office crying because I looked at her and I said, I'm a Kenyan, nobody knows me. You know, even if I go to these professional organizations, nobody knows that I exist. And how do I even start, you know, from getting into those positions? So I remember leaving out of there in tears and just realizing I've worked so hard, but I'm at the point of not getting tenure because it's something that I'm missing. So I went home and Googled everything on the website, African, Kenyan, and I came across KESSA. So as soon as I came across KESSA, then I called them and I knew there was a conference that was coming up in Bowling Green, Ohio. I remember at that time I didn't even have money. I actually took a train. I took a train from North Carolina to DC and then another train from DC because I couldn't afford another train from DC to Bowling Green just to get to that conference. So I went to the conference. I was really empowered. I was really motivated by the group. And I remember at the end of that conference, they were asking for volunteers. They were looking for regional reps from the South. I was so quick to volunteer because I knew I needed something. So I volunteered as a regional rep. That was in 2009. And ever since then, I've always been a member of KESSA. So I came back and I went to my administrator, to my boss, and I said, does this count? So they said, yes, it does count. So I hang on in there. And if it wasn't for KESSA, I don't think I would have got my promotion. So I really stuck in KESSA and I've been there, not stuck in there because I really enjoy the relationship. I've really enjoyed the network. Like I said, I joined KESSA in 2009 and I've never missed a conference except for last year because of COVID. But I've never missed a conference because of the mentoring that goes on at KESSA. You know, I had an opportunity to be mentored by Professor Tiso, Professor Manyara, Professor Maina, and all the senior professors who were at the conference at that time. They held my hand, and if I had any questions, I always asked them. Also, the networking was amazing because I felt like I was in a free atmosphere where I could ask questions, where I could ask for advice without fear of being judged. And I remember when I was going up for tenure, actually, Professor Otiso was the president at that time, gave me a recommendation letter to show that I was actually serving at a national level or serving at a professional organization at that point. Also through that in 2016, we were able to publish, we edited 2 books. Actually, I have the books right here. So if you look at that book, so we edited 2 books out of those conferences. So actually we edited, the first book was Kenya After 50, Reconfiguring Education, Gender and Policy. So I had a book chapter in that book, and then I also had another one on the second book that we co-edited with Michael Mwendwa, Dr. Gidenji, Dr. Mickey Mwansia, and myself. And those are from the conference presentation. So out of KESSA, I've been able to get publications. We got 2 books. We got some journal publications, presentation. And again, the key thing was being able to serve at a professional organization and being mentored, and the networks that have gone a long way, where I came in as an assistant professor, but now you can look at me here. I'm the president. I'm a full professor, and I'm a department chair. So KESSA has been everything to me. And I really want to thank KESSA. And if you're listening out there, please join KESSA. Come to KESSA. You will never regret. I've never regretted, and I will stay with KESSA as long as I'm in the U.S.
Thank you very much, Professor Rotich. Now, before I actually bring in Professor Bala, Professor Tiso, there is a question for you, because we really need to have this as a chronological event for us really to understand how KESSA, how we have had a journey of KESSA, especially from the president. Now you are the president. Now Professor Rotich is the president. Now, before we actually ask a question, or we throw a question to Professor Bala, I want you, Professor Tiso, to tell us, or to tell the viewers exactly what are the objectives of KESSA.
The objectives of KESSA are to promote research on Kenya and to promote scholarship among the young scholars that we have, and also to mentor younger scholars to be able to also rise and grow, especially graduate students. So, for example, if I give you an example, the first graduate students that joined the organization are now associate professors, and the assistant professors that joined at the time, like Professor Jerono Rotich, are now full professors. I myself was actually an assistant professor beginning to get ready to become an associate professor, and so even founding the organization actually helped a lot in terms of being able to help me to grow intellectually and also professionally. The other thing that we were hoping to do is to promote Kenyan scholarship here, and also promote relationships between the U.S. and Kenya. And through that scholarly relationships and the conferences, we've actually been able to do that. So, if I can give an example from the very first conference we had, the keynote speaker was actually the then U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Dr. Jendai Fraser. And from that point on, we've always had a Kenyan ambassador come to the conference, and therefore you can see that the conference has actually grown to become an important organization in terms of building relationships between Kenya and the U.S. But the primary thing that we do is to promote research on Kenya, to host conferences that disseminate the same research, publish books and journals like Professor Rotich mentioned, and basically to mentor young people and make sure that when we leave the stage, we actually have a strong group of Kenyan scholars here in the U.S. Professor Rotich has the latest figures, but as of the time when I was stepping down as president, we had about roughly about 300 or so people, but I'm sure that the number has gone up. And remember, in an organization like this, the issue is not necessarily the numbers, but the impact. Scholars end up being very influential because we teach a lot of students, we mentor a lot of students. So really, for a small country like Kenya to have that many people in an organization like ours in the United States speaks to the kind of influence that we are developing. And hopefully, as an organization, as a community of Kenyan immigrants in the U.S., I'm sure that we'll continue to make an impact in this community, and as well as making an impact back home in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tiso. Now, Professor Bala, it's your seat. You're on the hot seat right now. And we also need you as the editor-chief of KESSA. Please tell us more about the journal and your role in KESSA. Professor Bala.
More than, yes. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Kenya Studies Review is an interdisciplinary journal founded in 2009 and is actually dedicated to publishing the highest quality articles in all academic disciplines. To me, these articles showcase the best contemporary scholarship on Kenya, and they are written by Kenyan scholars in country and also in the diaspora. And I would say, as the editor-in-chief, alongside with my associate Peter Kimasop, we are very passionate about this journal. And we are passionate because we want to be able to do the same things that Professor Otiso and Gerono have talked about, which is to actually promote our own scholars. And so to be able to do the kind of work we do, Dr. Kimasop and I review each submission word for word. And I would actually be able to say, in spite of us being able to do that work, we also depend on our members of the editorial board. These are the people who are experts in their respective fields, whom we send the manuscripts to, who review the manuscripts before they can be able to send them to us, and then we can be able to review them. They make the recommendations, and we need them because since KSR is an interdisciplinary journal, I may not be an expert in a specific area. However, because we have these individuals, that the people who can be able to tell us whether the content that we are going to be publishing is actually current within the field, or whether we should be able to say maybe this particular article does not deserve to be published because it's not current in light of what is going on within the field. So it's not something I would really say I do myself, but I depend on people like Otiso here is one of the members on the board. We also have Rotich, who also serves on that editorial board. So it takes a lot of people to truly make this journal to be what it is. We pride ourselves in saying that this journal is a referred journal, that anyone who does publish with us should rest assured that we do the due diligence to make sure that the content is actually appropriate within the field.
Okay, Professor Bala, before you leave the hot seat, I would like you to tell us exactly, how the journal has contributed immensely to the career advancement of the members, and if possible, how can viewers or how can other scholars or students, even if they are undergraduate students, manage to get these scholarly articles available to them?
Okay, thank you very much for that very important question. And I think I may be also repeating the same kind of information that Dr. Otiso has talked about, and also Gerono, because this journal really is very significant to many of us who are here in the US, who always look for places where we can be able to publish our work. So therefore, for me, I see KSR, or Kenya Studies Review, as that journal that provides scholars, particularly those who are writing on Kenyan issues, to publish with us, because we serve as that repository for their work. Secondly, this journal also serves a very practical purpose for anyone who is looking for a resource for current scholarly work on Kenya. Number two, as Otiso and also as Gerono has mentioned before, that as a journal, we actually provide a platform for all our graduate students to share their ongoing research and dissertation. And I think because of the kind of mentorship that we have within the organization, that students who do submit their work to us, we review them with the same kind of diligence that we do, even other already published or accomplished scholars, and we use this as a way to mentor them with their own writing. And we always, and then thirdly, that this particular journal is very instrumental to, as Gerono has already mentioned, it serves that role for faculty members who may be coming up for tenure and need to be able to show that they have actually done some work within their own field. And so if they're seeking promotion, it's always good to say, hey, I published my work with the KSR. And that's why Dr. Kimasop and I take this to heart to make sure that before we can be able to really get any work into print, that we do check each and every aspect of the article submitted to us to ensure that we are producing quality work that people can be proud of by the end of the day.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Abala. I didn't hear where somebody, or if you have a repository or a depository, whichever way you want to call it, where students or scholars can actually access this data or this journal. Where can we find it?
So any scholar who would want to be able to see the kind of work we are doing, all they need to do is to search KESSA or just type in kessa.org. And they should be able to get to our KESSA website. And once they get onto our KESSA website, we have the KSR tab, which they can be able to click onto, that will have the most up-to-date or the most current issues that we have published up to this point. Also, if they're seeking to publish with us, that would be the place they go to be able to know publication information. It's also the place where we post when we have the call for submission or when we have any deadlines of anything that we need to be doing within the journal. So I would say logging onto our journal would be the best way to go. Our KESSA website is the best way to go to find information.
Thank you very much, Professor Bala. Now let's go back to Professor Rotich. We've got information that you are preparing for a conference in Dallas, Texas. Let me hope it's in September this year, somewhere September, but you'll correct me. So tell us, what are the preparations you are having for this particular conference? And how many people are you expecting to be coming to this particular conference? And how can someone like me, who is not a member, am I allowed, or can I register so that I can attend that conference, or it's basically exclusive or only for KESSA, for KESSA scholars? Go ahead, Professor Rotich.
Engineer Mwiri, KESSA is open to everybody. You know, if you realize that these days as we move forward, we as scholars, we work with the community. So it's not just exclusively for scholars, it's for all professionals. So all of us are professionals in their own ways. You're an engineer, you're most welcome. So this KESSA, again, is for students, it's for professionals who do programs or who do services related to Kenya. And like my colleague, Dr. Abala, Professor Abala said, we encourage all of you to go to the website, to register, and to pay your membership. We are the cheapest organization that you've ever come across. We only ask for $50 for your membership. So moving forward with even the journal, you have to be a member. You know, eventually you'll be a member to access that. But right now we encourage everybody to go to the website, to register, pay your membership, submit an abstract. So because we'd like to hear all the good things that you're doing, all the research that you're doing, all the community work. There are a lot of us out there, a lot of you are doing great things in the community, providing great services to the community here in the US as well as in Kenya. We would love to hear those. So we have paper presentations, we have panel presentation, we have roundtable discussions. Go to our website, kessa.org, and again, we really like to see you joining us to present It's open to all Kenyans who are doing services. The conference, we're doing a lot of great things. We've actually had a lot of preparations. We are doing a great job. We have all our keynote speakers, and again, you'll see those on the website. One of them is Dean Shireen Obare, who is the Dean of Nanoscience and Nanotechnology at two universities, at North Carolina A&T and UNC Greensboro. She's a dean. She does amazing work. She's going to be talking about networking. We also have Dr. Nafuko, who is a associate dean at the Texas A&M, who is in administration, education, leadership, and human resources. He has an amazing work. Actually did some research in Kenya that is going to share the work that he's done. We have Dr. David Washira, who is a banker. He works for World Bank. He does a lot of work with young people. You cannot afford to miss listening to those speakers. And then we have Dr. Sam Bora, who is a national certified counselor. He's also from Texas. Because we're expecting our ambassador. I told the ambassador there that they don't make history to be the only ambassador who has not attended. We've been blessed to have all our ambassadors. Ambassador Amaya will be with us, among other guests that we are yet to confirm. So we have great speakers lined up. We have great presentations lined up. Like KEFSA said, our listserv has over 400 participants, scholars, and students. We encourage you to join us. You will be so encouraged. You will be so mentored. So again, we have our presentations. We start our presentations on Friday. We will be at Dallas Fort Worth at the Marriott. Again, go to the website, register, make your reservation, submit your paper, and also all the presentations that you present. That's a great way to meet with our great editors. Dr. Abala and Dr. Kimasop do an amazing job with our journal. So that's an opportunity to also publish your conference proceedings. We publish conference proceedings out of your presentations. And if you'd like to present, to put it in a journal form, then Dr. Abala and Dr. Kimasop will be there. You get to actually meet them and you get to discuss your work. And if you have any questions, you get to meet them. So Thursday, we come in Thursday in the evening, we have a meet and greet for new members. We like to welcome our new members. So on Thursday evening, we have a meet and greet with our new members. We're hoping, we actually have a committee from Dallas that is helping us there. We hope that they will welcome us. I think they promised us some boozy there. Friday, we have conferences all day. Saturday, we have conferences all day with an AGM at the end of the day. And then in the evening, we have a social, where the social is open to scholars, to all members of the community. So we hope that you can join us. If you cannot make it during the day for the presentations, that you can join us on Saturday evening. We have DJ Kips, who will be with us that evening. We do exercise too. Like I said, I'm in kinesiology. We work, but we also want to play and get some exercise in the evening. So we have great things planned. So Dr. Engineer Omwere, we hope to see you in Dallas. The dates are September 10th and the 11th. So plan on arriving there on the 11th or the 10th, and we will leave on the 12th. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Rotich. Looking forward to attend the KESSA session for the first time. I've never actually attended any, so this time around I'll try my level best actually to come. But if I don't come, I'll definitely send you my Let me not promise over the hair. I mean, when we are on live show. So that's a discussion behind the curtain. So let's go to Professor Tiso. You know, we have very powerful brains, especially in North America and in Europe, especially from East Africa. KESSA is a very great opportunity to bring all those brains together. A few weeks ago, I was privileged to host Dr. Endagwa and Dr. Endege, who are great achievers, especially in the field of medicine. These guys are actually manufacturing vaccines, not only vaccines, but other medications. Some of them have actually even gone ahead and done some good research on AIDS medicine. And already, as we are speaking today, there are medications whereby a patient takes once in a month, and they are planning, if possibly, the medications which will ensure that a patient can only take once in a year. So those are great achievements. So with KESSA and with these powerful brains, are you guys trying your level best to bring all these amalgamating all these brains together so that we can form a good team and even try to manufacture vaccines back in Kenya. Professor Tiso, what is your role in ensuring that you bring all these brains together? Go ahead, Professor.
Yeah, we're actually doing our best. We've been working, at least in my case, even before KESSA, I've been trying to work with the Kenya government to use the diaspora to develop the country. And one of the other initiatives we're trying to do is what we are informally calling a Kenya Diaspora Fellowship Program that will actually complement to KESSA and try to see whether there's a way to bring some of this expertise back to Kenya, not just in medicine, by the way, even in higher education. You remember all these 400 scholars we are talking here can actually have a big impact even in terms of improving university education in Kenya. So it's going to be a broad effort, and we're hoping that it will actually come to fruition. Let me go back to the vaccines. The two scholars that you featured last week are actually important, but they're not the only ones that are actually involved in the production of medicines in this country. Actually, if you go to LinkedIn and you look at Kenyans who are in the pharmaceutical industry in the US, you'll be amazed. We have them as scientists, all the way to marketing, all the way to actually managing directors of big pharmaceutical companies here in the United States. So what is missing is a bridge of actually getting them to go from here to Kenya and do some of the work. And of course, as a country, we need to ask ourselves why it is that actually we are sending so much of our brains outside of the country. The reason is we don't have a good environment in Kenya to take advantage of these resources. But it's okay. I mean, now that we're here, you know, sometimes you need to get out of the country to be able to be accepted. And history shows that when people have been out of the country for a while, they end up actually being respected. You know, even the Bible says a prophet is not without honor except in his homeland. And hometown. So now that we have gained some notoriety out of the country, we are beginning to give back to the community. Somebody else I wanted to mention that perhaps you might not be aware of, the developer of the hepatitis C medicine, Professor George Njoroge, who used to work at Eli Lilly, is actually a KESSA member, and he has actually spoken at our conferences on a number of times. Recently, he relocated back to Kenya to build a pharmaceutical institute in Naivasha, and the hope is actually to use it to start producing those medicines in Kenya. So in other words, what I'm saying is the problem has never been the lack of brains. The problem is the lack of organization and the institutions that actually allow Kenya to use these resources. And I'm sure you have actually streamed some of the meetings that the ambassadors had recently, including the one with Ambassador Were, and I'm sure you heard that we have actually been raising this issue over and over again. The most important role of scholars and even diaspora people is not just sending money back to Kenya. It's actually the skill remittances. That is actually what transformed China. And that is what we are pushing the Kenya government to do, to be more open to receiving diaspora skills and diaspora knowledge to be able to transform the country. So it's a long answer, but yes, we are already doing a number of things to be able to bring about change, not just in production of medicines, but actually transforming the country, broadly speaking.
Thank you very much, Professor Tiso. Now, before I go to Professor Bala, let me, in conjunction to what Professor Tiso has actually said, I need Professor Rotich to speak straight to the camera and tell the president of Kenya if he'll be watching. Definitely, he'll be watching our shows, or my friends or my colleagues in the media industry will actually be giving him this information. So, Professor Rotich, what can you advise the president, given a chance, if the president can listen to you? What can you tell him?
To the president, I just want to respond to your question that you asked Dr. Tiso. I already know Dr. Ndagwa and Dr. Ndege. Actually, Dr. Ndege has presented in our forum. We do our monthly KESSA Zoom sessions because we are not able to go to the conference. We've been having monthly Zoom sessions. So Dr. Ndege, as presented as one of our panelists, and I'm actually a supporter of the bioductility technology because I'm a member of DUT. And Dr. Ndagwa, I've also listened to. Actually, Dr. Ndagwa is one of my mentors with NIH grants. So I've been having a conversation with them. As a matter of fact, we spoke today with Professor Mutisha. They're going to do something. I'm not going to share it on air, but Professor Ndagwa, Professor Ndege, Professor Mutisha, and the DUT University project, we're planning to see what we can do together at the KESSA conference. So yes, we are already in touch. We are community together. Like I said, Professor Adagwa is a great resource. I remember a few months ago, I was working on a collaborative NIH research, and I actually had him review my proposal, and he gave me some great feedback. So we're already connected. We are a connected community. And what I would like to tell His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, if he's listening, is that we have a great resource here in Diaspora. Kenya Scholars and Studies Association, we are a great team. Like Professor Otiso said, we just don't want to remit finances. We do that, but we also have a lot of skill set that we can remit our skills. We are a great resource. We are willing to serve, to pay back, and to pay forward to our country. If you can really support us, I know Professor Otiso, through our organization, has presented a proposal that is similar to the Diaspora's Carnegie Fellows. That is something that you have already received. That is something that you are aware of. Again, we've been seeking if you can support our scholars and students so that we can really support our country. We're here to serve. We're here to pay back. We're here to pay forward. We just need to be given an opportunity. So I hope you can source programs such as sponsoring, giving more funding to scholars so they can do research like the biotechnology, Daktari Biotechnology Group with Dr. Ndege and Dr. Dagwa. They are working with Nairobi University. They already collaborated with Nairobi University. My good friend, Dr. Njoroge, is already doing some work with at Kenyatta University. So we have a lot of us here who have skill set, again, from different areas, different disciplines, and not just professors alone. We have also expertise from the corporate America, engineers like you, engineers. We have a lot of people who work in different areas, just like Njoroge was in Allied Lilly. So we have a lot of expertise in our community, and I really hope that you as a Kenyan government would think about or would rethink and take advantage of the resources that we would like to offer. We are not interested in politics. Some of us are not. We just want to support our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Otich. Now let's go to Professor Abala. Professor Abala, what message do you have for the current members who have already published in your journal and those who have not?
Well, thank you very much, Engineer Omeri, for that question. And I would say that if this is the first time you are hearing about us, we encourage you to visit our website to check out what we have done. And if you haven't seen it, just consider publishing your work with us. And for those who are in the process of working on a project that they value, that they think deserves to be published in our journal, our next publication will be coming out at the end of June 2021. So this means that at least for this issue, which is going to come up, you have already missed the deadline. But we still have another submission coming up soon. So what I would recommend for those of you who are working on those important articles or academic projects that you want us to be able to review, that be on the lookout for the call for submission for the December issue. We try to at least publish 2 issues a year. And I should have said really from the very beginning that I've only been doing this since 2020. So the 2020 is the first time I've been in charge of the journal. And so this year we are going to have our second year where I serve as the editor. So we are hoping to have the December issue, the call for submission for the December issue early in fall 2021. So just be on the lookout for when we send that call of submission so you can be able to send your work our way for us to be able to take time to review what you have done and consider publishing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Abala. Before I also leave you, as a literary scholar, you do a lot of literature. You know, literature and drama are like this. And I used to attend dramas in the late 80s and early 90s, especially from the Western Kenya province, which really was excelling very much in drama. If you used to attend that one, you know that gentleman who was called Minishi. He was a very good drama teach and whatever. Now, what do you think should actually be done to our students or to our professors in Kenya who are really very, very nice in drama and in literature? What advice do you want to give them, Professor Bala?
Oh, golly. Well, I have to say that some of the things that I really feel passionate about is writing. And actually, I do write a lot of poetry. I write short stories. I also write novels. So my advice really for people who are in the arts is that the only way to move forward is to continue to actually put their work in writing so that they can be able to leave a mark behind. And I should say, though, because Professor Gerono mentioned the Carnegie Fellowship, that under the mentorship of Professor Otiso, I was able to go to KESSA University and actually work with some of the students at that particular institution. And while we were there, one of the things that we did was to actually mentor the younger students who are interested in either writing plays or performing plays, and also writing poetry. And I think as a result of that experience, we ended up publishing an anthology from that particular institution. So really, my encouragement for people who are interested in the arts or writing creatively is for them to simply write and perform and get their work out there, because there's never enough of new material that people can be able to read. And especially really in thinking about the current environment that we are working with or that we are dealing with during this time of a pandemic, I would be more interested to hear what young artists are thinking about, especially in documenting this current moment, and if possible, really be able to put that into a medium that people can be able to go out there and enjoy, either via watching a play enacted on stage or really reading. And for the most part, really, if it's a play works best if it's actually performed as opposed to being read out. And the second thing I would say too about that is that it would be very effective if we got our people to actually appreciate the arts, because it's one of those areas where it's less emphasized. In 2020 or 2021, most people are more inclined to promote STEM than promoting the arts. So my hope is, that drama is not a dying profession, or poetry is not a dying profession, but it's something that we can all be able to appreciate in our everyday life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful discussion. It's been a wonderful time actually hosting you, scholars, Professor Tiso, Professor Otich, and Professor Bala. Now, because of time, we really want to give you a few minutes, 2 minutes each, to make a closing remark, and anything maybe we might have forgotten or we might actually left, so that the viewers can really understand what KESSA is. So let's start now from Professor Tiso. Professor Tiso, what's your closing remarks?
Yeah, there was a second I didn't hear whether you were talking to me. It got cut out.
Okay, fine. Sorry. Okay, let me rephrase what I'd actually requested you to do. What I'm saying is that because of time, we would like now to end the show. But before we end the show, we would love you to give us a closing remark. And if, in case there's something we have actually forgotten, this is the time you're supposed to tell scholars out there or students out there why they need to be members of KESSA. Go ahead, Professor Tiso.
Yeah, thank you. I know that Otich will do a much better job of that. I'm a retired president, so what I can say though is KESSA KESSA is one of the organizations that is actually one of the strongest in the country in the area of scholarship. That inspires your student, you're a graduate student, you're a young scholar, you have a PhD, you don't necessarily do please KESSA, and will help them to grow as well. The other thing I wanted to mention very briefly is please let's take the time and the energy and opportunity to participate in the communities that we live in this country. Remember that KESSA is registered in the US, and actually most of the work we're doing, we do it in the United States. The reason for that is that as a diaspora community, we need to build our own institutions. Our teacher was saying, we don't always have access to the other organizations that are in this country. But if we build whether in politics, in business, organizations of that nature, we'll actually be able to build our community. Let's be involved in the local schools where our children go. Let's be involved in politics. Let's make sure if we get elected, actually we can have an impact in this community. So really, KESSA, an opportunity to give back to the community. So all of us should actually be involved in one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tiso. Professor Bala, before we come to the president, because she's the one now to give us a closing remark, Professor Bala, what's your closing remark?
Closing remark would be that because I would love to be able to see the KSR journal become the most preeminent journal on publishing Kenya scholarship in the world, I would really encourage all the scholars who are listening to us to consider submitting their work to our journal so we can be able to make it as strong as we want it to be, because I believe that together we can actually be able to move mountains. And I have faith in all the KESSA scholars and those who have not really joined us to join hands with us to make KSR to be that journal that people can be able to go to each time they're looking for any current scholarship on Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Abala. Now, before we call it a night, let me encourage everybody out there to be part of the solution, to be part of the terrain, to be part of KESSA so that we can move our countries forward. The other thing I would love to encourage our viewers out there is to ensure that they subscribe to our channel, give suggestions, give critique, so that we can move together as not as a community, not as a country, but as a continent. Thank you very much. Now it's time we want to usher in Professor Rotich to give our closing remark because she's the current president of KESSA. Professor Rotich, this is your turn.
We already have Dr. Bala, we already have my good friend Dr. Rupert Langat and his wife Dr. Langat who said they're going to submit their proposal. So that is great. They're already submitting their manuscripts, and actually Mr. Raf Kilondo, one of our supporters. Engineer Omere, I would be remiss if I don't give shout outs and kudos to our great team. I don't do this alone. At KESSA, we have a great founding team. We have Dr. Manyara, Professor Manyara, we have Professor Koti, we have Professor Mutabi, and we also have a wonderful, wonderful executive team that works with me. The Vice President is Dr. Patrick Mose, who is in Kenya right now. Mose, we appreciate you. He's also the webmaster. We have Dr. Rachel Donye, who is in Maryland, who is the secretary. All the emails you get is from Dr. Rachel Donye. So we are very diverse. Dr. Patrick Mose is in IT. Dr. Donye is a chemistry professor. And we have Dr. Amwara, who is in business, who is the treasurer. We also have a governing council who's been in charge of the monthly Zoom sessions, who's done an amazing job. We have Dr. Moses Ojanji from California, who's been assisting with the proposals and abstract and the secretariat. We have Dr. Billy Chivetti, who is from New Mexico, who's been assisting with our international recruitment and international work and our newsletter. We have Dr. Rachel Boyd from North Carolina, who's been helping with student competitions and mentoring. We have Dr. Penina Kamina, who is a mathematician who is in New York. We have Dr. Abala and Dr. Kimosop, who are working with the journal, doing an amazing job. We have Dr. Jeremiah Saka, who is helping us with our social media. So if you see over social media, it's Jeremiah who does that. And we have our very own, my good friend, Dr. Elimenda Ongeri, who has really been helping with the grant writing, with membership and supporting. So again, kudos to our great team. We couldn't do it alone. Dr. Omwere, I forgot to say this. You know, because I came to KESSA, I actually paid my help loan. You know, I came to KESSA and I met this guy, Dr. Ringera. I was not planning on paying my loan, by the way. But when I met him and he convinced me, so I paid my help loan. So to those who are listening in Kenya, we paid back our loan, and I've actually recommended many people who have paid back their loans. So in closure, I want to say KESSA is a great conference. KESSA is a great community. Do not be left out. Join us at KESSA. We are a great resource. We are great information. We learn a lot. We've learned a lot from one another. You get different information. You get different resources. It's a great opportunity to network and also to enhance your professional development. We have excellent opportunities to research, to work together. You can raise your profile. You can join committees. You can volunteer. And those are things that most of us need when we're going up for tenure and promotion. It's also an opportunity to build your career, professional development, mentoring. You can be a mentor or you can also be mentored. So for those of us who've already been mentored, so it's our time now to pay back, and we're mentoring students. You also get new perspectives of how different people are doing things, or different professionals are doing things, or collaborating. Like Kefa said, we are very key in collaborating with our community partners. Dr. Rafki Lodu is an example of people we work very closely with. And it's time to recharge. Honestly, it's a great time. It's like being away from home. To me, it's like going to Kenya for a weekend. So it's great time to recharge. You also get opportunities to learn about job prospects for those of you who are looking to grow. Those of you who are looking for grant writing collaborations, any collaborative opportunities. Like I said, when we published these 2 books, it was actually out of the conference proposal. So you can look at the conference proposal, and we sent out a call and we collaborated with professors at the conference. I didn't even know them before, but we were able to put together conferences. And then I'll tell you an example of one of my mentors, Shireen Obara, who came last year, and she talked to us about leadership and mentoring. And right there, she actually inspired me. She's been my mentor ever since then, and she's the one who inspired me to apply for the leadership position. So anytime I have something, I run it by her. So she's a mentor. So I've gained mentors myself. I've gained friends. I've gained collaborators. And we look forward to seeing you in Dallas. Again, I cannot stop telling you about KESSA, because personally, I have grown from KESSA. And thank you so much, Engineer. We hope to see you, and we hope to see everybody else who's listening. Thank you to my team. Thank you to our advisory board, to our governing council, to our executive. We appreciate all of you.
Thank you very much. I can't thank you enough to have found an opportunity to come and tell the viewers about KESSA. And I hope that if viewers will be having questions right now, because of time, we might not actually answer some of the questions. But next time, we'll definitely request you to come in and tell more about KESSA to the viewers who will be watching or who are subscribers to our channel, KDR TV. So with that, we call it a night, and may God bless all of you.